And we are live with our 16th edition of Nansen Office Hours. Alex, you're looking extra crisp today. How you doing?
Yeah, high res, high alpha. Got a new
All right.
camera. The only problem is that the stand is up there. I have to get a new stand. Got my screen down here. So, unfortunately, there's going to be limited eye contact.
But I think that's how some people do it, right? Like on the Up Only podcast. Kobe,
Okay.
Kobe has the like side cam.
Yeah, I'm taking one from Kobe's playbook.
That's a good playbook to take from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's up this week?
Well, at Nansen headquarters, we've got two new research engineers on the team. So we've been busy onboarding them. Um, Looks like someone likes your watch, Daniel. Do you have a new watch?
Yeah, I know I don't, but thank you to the homie
Nice.
there.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of stuff we're doing right now internally in the company. We're still working on pushing out migrated dashboards to better user interfaces with the new brand identity and dark mode. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I've personally not been watching the markets that much this week. What about you? Have you been keeping an eye on the markets?
When number goes down, I try and shield my eyes, avert my gaze from the carnage.
Ape
I'm,
into
I'm
NFTs instead?
I'm a number go up guy. That's
Okay,
it.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been an interesting week regardless. Like I guess there's still some after effect. Like we in the dashboards, we're still seeing after effects from big data protocol. We're still
Yep.
seeing some apage on the hot contracts. So it seems like there is still some activity, but actually I would say in the last maybe 24 to 48 hours there has been just sentiment wise on Twitter. It feels like additional caution, and we saw in the stablecoin gauge on the smart money dashboard an increase in stablecoins. Um,
Yep.
so maybe we can dive in on some of those things and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, so I guess one idea here could be to show off some of the discovery-oriented dashboards, right?
Yeah.
Um, so maybe to just conceptually uh, add a prelude to that. So there's kind of two ways to use Nansen. The first one is for discovery, which means when you're looking for tokens, you're looking for investment opportunities, you're looking for yield farms that you are not aware of. That's what we would call discovery. In investment terms, it's also referred to as sourcing sometimes. And then the other part is due diligence. So initially, when we started building Nansen, we focused a lot on due diligence, meaning if you know the token or you know the smart contract or the yield farm that you're interested in, you can do due diligence on it, right? You can check the liquidity of a token. You can look who are the main holders, the sort of cap table, the accumulators, and so on and so forth. But a lot of our later dashboards are more focused on discovery. And so perhaps we can just do kind of an overview of the more discovery-oriented dashboards. And I think I would actually start with a gas tracker. So let me share my screen
Yeah.
here.
Well, while you pull that up, I'd actually say there's kind of a third major use case, which initially I thought was bucketed in due diligence, but the more I've chatted with people and the more I've used it for this third case, I think it's worth separating out, and that's maintenance or monitoring of existing positions. So
Yeah.
if you think about like your process as you're researching and aping into these different projects, like you start with discovery, so you find it on hot contracts or gas tracker or wherever, then you do your due diligence, and then afterwards when you've already aped in, it's important to almost track different things to maintain your position in that farm and kind of continue to understand what's going on, where large people or where whales are moving their tokens, make sure that the vesting schedules are happening according to plan and no one's dumping. And so I would say it's almost like a different tool. You look at different dashboards or different tables for that third part, and you use things like smart alerts for tracking these whale wallets.
Yeah. I have a proposal on what to call it because I think monitoring, it's quite descriptive, but it's not catchy enough. So what about what about discovery, due diligence, and defense?
All right.
You're defending
like
your
it.
positions. D3, that's the methodology.
All right. The D3 Nansen methodology. We need
All
to
right.
get to D5. Isn't that the
Oh,
magic
yeah, that's
number
true.
of the DAO?
That's true. Eventually, we'll get there.
All right.
All right. Should we dive into the gas tracker?
Let's do it, sir.
Cool. Okay, so top line here is basically just showing the median gas price over the last 24 hours. So there was actually quite a lot of activity almost 24 hours ago, about 20 hours ago, when the median gas price went above 300 gwei. And it's often quite interesting to look at the share of gas fees. And often if you go a bit further down the tail here, you can see interesting activity. So most of these are kind of well-known entities, right? And this is showing what percentage of the top 20 gas spenders each of these entities are spending. And so I think there might be some interesting projects as we go down here. Well, actually most of these are exchanges in this case. So okay, nothing too special there, at least over the last week, which is what this one is showing. You see kind of the usual suspects of exchanges, and in the 1 hour change, most of them seem to have an increase in gas spending. Also, most of them on 24 hours, and actually all of them on 7 days. And so Binance is basically spending more than 3,000 Ether over the last 7 days on processing mostly ERC20s, presumably, but also some Ether. You can scroll down and you can see different smart contract entities. So this is the consumption, right? The above is like the spenders, which is typically externally owned accounts or normally addresses that, pay for the gas. And then you have the consumption, which are the smart contracts that actually consume the gas. So there's one that sticks out here actually right away. I don't know if you see it visually there, but you can see it sort of pumps out there. And that was, looks like it was on the 13th of March. Mooncats. Did you get any mooncats, Daniel?
I didn't, unfortunately, but I monitored. I watched from the sidelines as everyone was rescuing their mooncats.
Nice. So it looks like people...
Did you?
I did not, no. I totally slept on that. I think it was over the weekend, right?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, took
It's
the weekend.
Too much.
Took the weekend off, and then people were suddenly minting and rescuing mooncats. But yeah, that's how it is. You can't win them all. And then you can see a lot of these other ones, like Uniswap is still dominant, basically on some days doing as much as 50% of the gas consumption among the top 20s. There's also, 1inch Center, which is the company behind USDC. And yeah, anything interesting? There's some NFT stuff here, Rarible. I wonder if OpenSea is there too. Did I skip that perhaps? Actually, you can see it if you scroll down here. There we go. OpenSea is pretty high actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8th largest gas consumer right now. So there's a lot of, and there's also Axie Infinity. There's Rarible. So it looks like the NFT craze is still going strong, at least in gas consumption. Anyway, so this is...
Question.
Yeah, go for it.
On the gas consumers, if a trade is originated on an aggregator like 1inch or Metamask or something like that, or whatever, Matcha, does it show the ultimate consumer like Uniswap, or does that go as 1inch? Or how does that get split up in terms of gas consumption?
It should be split up based on how much of the gas is being consumed at each step. I have to admit, I'm not 100% sure how we break that up in these overviews, but that's something we can go back and check with the research engineer who built this dashboard. It's a good question.
And then the second question, Matthew in the chat asks, in the gas tracker page at the bottom, you can see the last contract in the last hour that used the most gas. So maybe we can just check that real quick. And then the follow-up question is, some of them have a name, but some aren't tagged. Is there a way to get an Etherscan link for them? And the answer is yes.
Yeah,
But
the answer is yes.
ahead.
There should be a link here, and we are not quite sure why it disappeared, but it was something that was changed by the product team, maybe by accident. But we used to have a link here. In fact, I think you said there is a way to scroll to the right. Okay, we have
Just
Etherscan
on-
links on the top
on
ones.
gas.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. On gas.
That's just an error, and we reported it as a bug because this is how it looks like up here on the gas spenders, and we should have the same thing down here as well. So that's coming back.
Yeah.
All right.
And then Weiji asks, is this the new UI? Maybe you can talk a bit
Yes.
more about that.
It is the new UI. So we decided to, instead of doing kind of like a big bang, launch of the new UI for the entire site, we figured we'd gradually migrate over all the dashboards. And this was one of the first dashboards that we wanted to migrate because the complexity wasn't too high, and it was also quite new. So people hadn't necessarily, gotten into the habits of using the dashboards in a very particular way, which would make it a bit annoying when you have changes to it. So we decided to go for this one pretty early. There's actually a few others that have also been migrated. So there's the ETH2 deposit contract, which you can look at. This shows the amount of ETH that's been deposited into the ETH2 contract, right, for staking. And so this is also, as you can see, in the same style. And you can see, the top depositors, the top depositing entities of Ether into ETH2, which is pretty cool to track. And you can also see the kind of leaders in terms of individual accounts. So Kraken has the main one that has provided 379,000 Ether just from one single wallet. And you, of course, see the evolution over time here as well. There's a few other ones that are coming out this week. So one is Lido, which currently has the kind of old skin, but this is going to look quite nice when it gets rolled out as well with the new UI. And then we're just going to do the rest at once as well. Top depositors and top recipients are going to be reskinned, I think, within the next week as well.
And that'll, with the reskin, it means faster load times, right?
Yeah, that's right. It means faster load times. It means, in my experience, better UX. You can interact in more intuitive ways with the different elements in the dashboard. You get these kind of nice small touches where, like here, if you hover, it has this kind of nice animation and feels a bit better to interact with. You have bars or rows that actually highlight when you hover over them. If you click links, they actually open new tabs, which is something people complain about a lot because in the current version, it opens in the same tab and it screws up your parameter loading, right? So that's fixed in the new UI.
In the chat, there's a lot of excitement over the new tab, the new tab feature.
Yeah. It's super annoying. It's actually because we use an underlying open source charting library charting tool called Metabase. And in one of the upgrades to that product, they changed the way links were open. And so that, of course, influenced us. So that's like another reason why we're changing to our own charting library, because we have full control over the whole user experience.
So here's a question I have for you. It's not really related to alpha leaks or anything like that, but bear with me, folks. So I'm curious, back when you first started Nansen and when you guys were first setting up these dashboards, how did you pick Metabase, like as opposed to one of these other open source charting libraries? What was the decision process?
Yeah, I had used Metabase a lot when I was doing consulting. And actually, one of the projects that I was using Metabase with was 0x, the decentralized exchange protocol. I worked with them around half the year in 2019, the same year as we started Nansen. I was doing consulting work with them on data and analytics. And so I was making like DEX slippage dashboards and different charts that they used internally for decision making. And so I was quite familiar with using Metabase. It's a very nice open source business intelligence platform. So yeah, I was quite acquainted with it, and that was why we went for it.
Would you recommend it for other people looking to set up like charts or open source data products?
Yeah, definitely. The benefit of it is that you don't need any front end capabilities, right? Which we didn't have in the team when we launched Nansen. We were like 3 data guys who didn't know how to do anything with front end, pretty much. And so we basically just started embedding these Metabase charts into our very basic React web app. But the idea was always that that's like an MVP, right? It wouldn't be the final form of Nansen. And now we're getting closer to something which feels more like a real product.
What were the scaling limitations that we hit? Like, where did the product start to crack in terms of what we were trying to do, and like why we're really switching to the new like custom stack?
Yeah, so some of the database technology we use under the hood is not really meant for a massive amount of users. It's primarily built for like analysts and so on, because some of the queries we run basically scan hundreds of gigabytes of data, because you need to get all the latest data, and you need to have all the historical data in some cases. And so what we've done in the new version is that we've built our own like caching layer, and also we call it the mediator. It basically checks it routes the requests to the right data storage. And so if you look at live DEX trades, for example, if we jump over there, that actually sources the data from a completely different technology, namely a streaming technology. And so, as you keep this open, it actually updates, as you saw there, it updates the rows with new trades coming in basically real time, a couple of seconds delay. Sometimes we're even faster than Etherscan to pick up the trades. And so this wasn't really possible with Metabase. Like you can't do streaming with Metabase. It's only static loads. Like you load the dashboards once and then they're stuck. So so that's like one thing, the caching, right, and then the streaming part. And then as we get more users, we need to be smarter on how we load data so that we can load it faster and we don't, unnecessarily hit the heaviest data assets too much.
Got it. In terms of the fastest ways of like navigating Nansen as a product, maybe you can walk us through how you set up those hotkeys, and then just quickly give an overview of like how, if one doesn't have those hotkeys set up, how they can navigate a bit faster using the URL.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't know this, but you can actually use URL parameters for all of our dashboards. So, over here, let's say you're plugging in Wi-Fi, right? This is one way to do it. You select Wi-Fi and you click Add Filter. The other way to do it, actually, I'm going to show you three different ways. So the other way to do it without shortcuts, it's just that you would write out the actual parameter like this: token symbol equals Wi-Fi. And some people have asked me, is there like a list of all the the parameters? It's very easy. It's just you take literally what it says here, replace the space with underscore, and you lowercase it like this, and that's it. That's how it is with all the dashboards. And so if I hit this now, it actually just loads Wi-Fi right away. And there's a lot of benefits to this. The main one being like if you accidentally click on one of these links and it you click it and then it takes you there, you can actually now click back and it loads the same dashboard with the same parameters. You don't have to mess with setting the parameters again. You can also, of course, save these, right? You can, I don't know, you can put them in bookmarks, or you can like put them in a Notion page, or whatever note-taking app you use.
That's what I was going to say. There's sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
Some people have like Google Sheets or whatever, an Excel spreadsheet where they basically algorithmically generate all of these links. And so when they're tracking different yield farms, they'll create this link automatically so that when they want to check on a certain page, they can just click it.
Yeah, it's pretty funny because it shows like Nansen is actually still a very young and immature product, but it's a good sign when users find workarounds, right? Because it means that there's more value to be created from the product itself. And of course, we're always very interested in hearing about how people find workarounds like that so that we can actually just make it easier in the product. So maybe the third way that I wanted to show you, and I think this is what you were referring to with shortcuts. So I've set up a shortcut, actually several, but there's token God mode, right? You can abbreviate that to TGM, token God mode. So if I do, I'll show you again, if I do TGM and then tab, I have this search Nansen token God mode. And so now I can write just YFI here, and then Chrome actually writes out that URL for me. So I use this all the time. Like if I want to look up, I don't know, USDC, it's very fast. I just, command tab for a new tab, TGM, tab, and then, die or whatever. And it just creates it on the fly like that.
All right, but you gotta explain how you got there, because otherwise people are gonna be testing this out right now.
Yeah,
and it's not so easy. It's not.
That's right.
Instant.
That's right. So that's where you want to get to, right? And then how do you do it? Well, you go into Chrome. There's several different ways to do it. The easiest way to do it is to go into Chrome and set up a custom search engine. So I don't think we have time to do it in this video. Also, I have no idea what I'm gonna reveal if I show my Chrome settings, so I'm not going to go into that.
Or your history? Is that what you're saying?
Or my history, who knows? So yeah, not going to do that live. But you can go to custom search engine and you can actually just create this one. I think the format is something like %s, like this, and then the %s gets replaced by your query parameter, so like the token symbol or something like that. I did also make a YouTube video on how to do this, but it turns out that's not actually the best way to do it. But you can go on YouTube and actually just find a video where I show you how to set it up in 5 minutes. But it turns out there's actually a better way to do it, which is directly in Chrome. You don't need any extension or plugin.
In the chat, we have a question, which is, can you do this on Brave as well? And I would assume yes, because of Chromium.
I would assume yes, because it's built on the same framework, right? So if we do Brave custom search engine, maybe not Brave, iOS, or how do I set my default search engine? Use custom search engine as default. Well, it looks like there might be ways to do this, so I would just search for custom search engine, and then set it up.
Yeah. All right, let's answer a question here from the chat from Weiji. Do you think exchanges will support direct to layer 2 withdrawals?
Yes, I do think so. In fact, I think fiat on ramps and also probably better exchange integrations with L2 is an understated. Let's call it a benefit of L2, or at least I don't think the most common way to get onto L2 will be to jump through all these hoops, just one more hoop. I think there will be much more services that just allow you to basically directly on-ramp onto L2 and off-ramp, and I think it's going to be the same with exchanges. Yeah, and there's already some quite creative ways to also get around some of these withdrawal periods, right? Like a 7-day withdrawal period, I think Maker has a proposal out on how to basically get DAI instantly off of, I guess it's Optimism. I can't remember exactly. It might have been one of the other L2s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think so.
I agree with that. I think in the short term, centralized exchanges will probably be the most utilized bridge between both chains and L2s and L1s.
Yeah, you could argue centralized exchanges are like an MVP of L2s, right? They are almost like L2s conceptually, except they're of course centralized and not transparent.
Yeah.
But like they are a layer 2 in a way, where you deposit funds, right, and you do some stuff on it without paying gas, or you pay other forms of fees, and you can withdraw again, right? So like conceptually, they're actually quite similar, and hooking them up to an L2, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just hooking it up to like another L1.
Yeah, I think even on dexes, like I just saw a screenshot on Twitter of like a Uniswap style interface where you choose the output as well. So like you go from like DAI to some output currency, and you choose both the output currency and the network that it would be on.
Yeah.
So I guess it's complicated in terms of like how if like you need a different wallet, or if you're on a different network, but
yeah,
I think it's being worked on.
Yeah, hopefully this will be more like advanced settings or something, because it would of course just make the user experience even more clunky if you have to select that as well every time you make a trade, but I doubt that.
Right. Okay, continuing on the questions here. When looking in token God mode, When looking in token God mode, we normally see the majority of tokens in the farming pool. Is there a way to see the distribution of these pools?
So, okay, now I'm just scrolling down in Wi-Fi so that we can get specific. So you're saying that you see them in different contracts here, or farming pools, like trying to look for an example. I don't know. Well, Bancor pool is really liquidity pool, right? So maybe not the best example. But you can already see a breakdown here, like on what they are, right?
I think the question is somewhat getting at, like, could we have a percentage column in the top depositors table? That's where I'm interpreting that question.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
for example, like the Yearn token vault YVYFI has 6.8%. So of that 6.8%, what's the breakdown of individual depositors?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I guess high level, Matthew, the answer would be like, yes, you can see that percentage column to get somewhat of a distribution, but then maybe we should extend that and do a double click on the percentages.
Yeah, so now I just click through on depositors, and you see this one. And so the idea would be, like here, you could see percentages. Is that?
Yeah, it could be cool to do percentages of this contract and also percentages of the total. So
Right.
you would see, like, you know, this 2000 has whatever percentage of the total, as well as percentage of this contract.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the
sense.
rescue strategy.
yeah. Yeah, that's probably something we could add. Yep. I guess the confusing thing is if you have two different percentages, like which one, like people might get confused with that. So we might have to just go with one of them, right?
Well, we can just, that's the point of column title, I guess.
Yeah. But it's already pretty dense, right? But yeah, I suppose we could do both.
And then a follow-up question on here is, how can one tell how many users are in a pool?
You actually can't at the moment, but maybe I can show you a peek under the hood on like what this is going to look like, because that's actually something we wanted to add. Let's see.
I'll say a temporary answer. It's not perfect, but if you want to see how many depositors are in here, you can
just
scroll
see
to the
down
bottom.
here.
Yeah, so 1,049. But I would say, you gotta poke through and see where the drop off is, because some of these people have 0 staked still.
Yeah, that's right. Let's see if Figma loads. in fact, top depositors. Oh man, it's being worked on. No, wait, here we go. It's going to look something like this, and then it will actually highlight this top depositors over here. So, you know, the look and feel is the same. It's just that this one is added, and of course, the UI looks better. Right? Yeah. But at the moment, the answer is, yeah, what Daniel said. You can check down here to the right.
Would you say the fact that there's 0 deposits, like you can see people with 0 tokens still deposited, would you say that's a feature or a bug? Like if you poke through here, like page 10 or something like that.
Like here, let's see. Well, it's actually a bunch. Okay, here we go. Like these ones.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's a feature because you can actually see past depositors as well. Now, maybe the question should be like, for this macro number, how many depositors should we count it there, right? Should we take the total depositors ever or the total active depositors?
Yeah.
A little unclear. Yeah.
I would agree. I think it's a feature, and the reason is when I look at this table, there's typically 2 ways that I'll sort this table to get information. The first is sort it by tokens deposited.
Yeah, let me just go back to the beginning so we can illustrate that in practice. So this is the default sorting, and then you would do this one, right?
I would sort it by first in, because it's always interesting to see who's the first person participating in a farm. And when we looked at Float Bank, whatever, many moons ago, it was pretty illuminating to see who the first people were in the Float Bank yield farms. And when you start to use smart alerts more often and you start to find interesting wallets, whale wallets, or just yield farmers that have a similar strategy as you, like for example, Float was a stablecoin farm. And so if you are someone who wants to be a bit more risk off with your farming strategy, you want to know what other smart stablecoin farmers are doing. So you could find their address and turn on a smart alert for them and track when they're sending USDC, USDT, or DAI around, or TUSD, or whatever stablecoins you want to track. And maybe you only care when they're sending at least 10K or something, and you make it a bit more specific.
Yep.
In the chat, the question is, what project are we looking at right now? We're looking at Wi-Fi right now, but it's more just background noise. We're not actually deeply analyzing Wi-Fi.
Maybe one more column that is worth sorting on is this incoming, because that actually gives you the gross deposited, right? And so this is where it becomes quite useful to have the zeros, because you can see previously large depositors. And here you actually see a couple of smart LPs, like this one, that has 0, but they were in the pool for a week, right? With 126 Wi-Fi tokens, but then they withdrew all of them. And the same with this one, another smart LP deposited 91 and then withdrew, 92. I guess that's just a rounding error. But yeah, effectively, you see a lot of these actually that have zeros. And I can see that because I'm sorting on the incoming column. So that's maybe a third column that is worth sorting on.
Yeah, and Darren in the chat here summarized it nicely. Basically, step 1, find people who ape into good farms the fastest, and step 2, set smart alerts for them.
Yeah, that's good. Hopefully everybody knows how to do smart alerts, but if not, you just click up here. It's pretty easy. You just click smart alerts, and then you do add trigger to the right, and you can, let's say now we're looking at Wi-Fi, right? So I want to do, I don't know, Wi-Fi whales. Then I can do show more, because I want to make it a bit more detailed. Minimum USD value. Well, wait, maybe I want to get 123, so $1 million worth in USD terms worth of Wi-Fi. And then here I have to actually select the Wi-Fi token, right? Here, this one, Wi-Fi, yearn.finance. Boom. And then I enter my Telegram ID, and that's it. Now I have like a whale tracker for Wi-Fi. Every time a $1 million transaction happens, I get a Telegram notification. Maybe I want to do 10 million because 1 million might be too low and there's going to be like lots of triggers. Or maybe I only care about smart money. So I only want to get notifications when a smart money tagged wallet makes a Wi-Fi transaction. There's a lot of stuff you can do here actually. So this is pretty cool. I would definitely encourage you to play around with this. I think I was looking at the numbers. I think something like, if I don't remember incorrectly, something like 20 or 25% of our customers are using smart alerts, and if you're not using them, you're missing out. So you better just try them out.
Yeah. One other idea in terms of a smart alert you can set here is with deployers. So here specifically on Wi-Fi, you can set a Wi-Fi deployer smart alert. So anytime a new contract is created by the Wi-Fi deployer, you'll get a notification. So you would remove those other filters. And you can do this for Wi-Fi, but you can also do it for other interesting projects. Let's say, there's a new NFT project, and they've launched a V1 or a V2, and you want to be the first to know about the V3. So you can set a smart alert for the deployer contract there. And as soon as Began Punk's V3 comes out, or Y-Fusion, whatever the next round of waifus comes out, or Rare Pizza, or whatever next Mooncats comes out, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah.
Boiler beats.
Yeah. The cool thing is it's kind of similar to the Nansen dashboards, right? Like the parameters you set define the in this case the alert, and that means there's a good chance no one else has the exact same alert as you, and so you could get a notification when literally no one else has that notification, and so that's actually a real information advantage if you use it correctly.
Yeah. Another question from the chat here is, let me pull it up here, from Oz Trader. Oz asks, what are the elements that turn you off from a project, and is there a checklist you use?
Yeah. So for example, if you look at yield farms, maybe we can distinguish, it's similar, but let's distinguish yield farms from just, holding tokens. And also we should preface this by saying none of this is investment advice. Nothing in this call is. I would say one thing that can be helpful is to look for smart money addresses being present. And so now we're actually looking at Wi-Fi and just looking at the sort of cap table of Wi-Fi, so the top holders of Wi-Fi, you see already 2 smart money labeled addresses, which is a healthy sign. You see Polychain here. That's interesting. 666 Wi-Fi. I don't know what message they're sending with that, but that's interesting. And then Farmer X, which is an entity that we've tagged. We don't know their identity, but we don't necessarily need to know. We just know that they've done good trading decisions in the past. So these are 2 smart money wallets, right? It can also be useful if you want to, be very sure, or double check this. You can go to the profiler, right? So if we look at Polychain, you click through and you do the profiler on this address, and that can help you to understand if, sometimes you have these scam tokens, so we'll just send tokens to certain addresses, right? And you might want to check that this holder actually, acquired the tokens, or they've at least done something with the tokens, instead of them just receiving it in an airdrop, which could be from some kind of scammer project. So, if you want to really drill down deeper and understand that, you can do that. But just for eyeballing, that's one thing that I would do. I would do the same thing in a yield farm. So if I'm looking at, actually maybe, let's look at, we were looking at the YV before, right? So should we look at unit protocol, for example?
Can Don't jump around too quick because it's a little
Right.
laggy on the
Okay.
screen sharing here.
So now I just clicked unit protocol, and I clicked depositors because I want to know what addresses have been depositing Wi-Fi into unit protocol. And here you see a certain amount of smart money. Funny how Andre Kronia is not smart money, but there you go. He's been tagged because he has a public wallet, so that's all right. Don't rug me, bro, is in here with very little Wi-Fi though, so like not too much. But this is a sign that hey, these people are interacting with this contract. Again, not investment advice, but that does give you a data point on like how safe it is probably to interact with it, or that's at least how I would think about it, and I know that many other people using Nansen think about it.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, in terms of like kind of, I don't want to say red flags, but like things to kind of look out for is if you are looking at a farm and almost everyone has withdrawn. So whether they're early farmers or large farmers, and you see just like a long list of last outs, like basically like dates in the last outs, so a lot of outflows from that farm, I would say like the opportunity is certainly less exciting than one where people still have their coins staked. So for example, this unit protocol, DYOR, because I'm not sure, I think there's stories about Andre using this specifically for Wi-Fi because you can do something unique on unit protocol. But on other farms, you want to check that most people are still in it before you get in it, or like not everyone's rushing towards the door to exit the farm.
Yeah, makes sense.
One other thing that I kind of pay attention to is when I'm looking at a farm with a pool 2, like Uniswap, like an incentivized Uniswap ETH shitcoin pair or something like that. I do want to check that there's some smart money in there as well. And you'll find that even on kind of scarier pool 2s, or ones that are like very popular, for example, like Big Data Protocol when it was on, there were still a lot of smart money wallets in the pool 2, and I would say smart money in pool 2 is sometimes a pretty good validation. It means that they're kind of willing to take the risk on participating in that pool 2.
Yeah. Just wanted to check one thing. Looks like this is a bit buggy. I vaguely remember us discovering something fun with TUSD last time, right? On
sure.
Aave depositors. Maybe we can see.
Actually, yeah, that's an interesting thing to look into. Do you still have Wi-Fi token godmode up, or did you just swap it up?
Yeah, here.
One thing that's kind of interesting to see is the sort of after effects of Big Data Protocol, and it's so blatantly obvious here in the if you scroll back up to the exchange inflows and outflows chart.
All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like the one with
I
the
guess
bar charts down there.
The sushi swap. Oh, okay. Yeah, this one. Okay.
Yeah,
this one. Yeah.
It couldn't be more obvious that something went on there with
Big Data
large
Protocol.
amount of Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Big Data Protocol launches.
Yeah.
Tons of tokens flow out. They go into Big Data Protocol, and then here the tokens flow out again, right? I think it was primarily Sushi Swap, which you can see in the chart above there.
Yeah. But if you look at Aave as well, like the utilization of some of these different assets, you can see pretty clearly as well a big spike in utilization of different assets, including Wi-Fi.
That's cool. Let me just spin that up in the background. I also wanted to say, if you just look at the top transactions, that also tells a pretty clear story, Like, first of all, pretty much all of these addresses have been annotated, which is kind of nice because you can get just so much faster understand what was going on with Wi-Fi in the last week. You see Alameda actually pulling like tons of Wi-Fi out of Big Data Protocol and then back into Sushi, right? and you see 0xB1 withdrawing 200 Wi-Fi from Big Data Protocol. Yeah. Another smart LP, another Alameda transaction, and so on. It's pretty interesting, actually. Yeah, the TUSD, I think I wanted to look at Aave, right? I think it was the lending protocol core. I just wanted to have a quick look if we can see something funny there now. Because last time we discovered that one of the main contributors of liquidity to Aave for TUSD was a notable figure.
Yeah, like a good 60% or something, right?
Yeah, I think so. So it might have changed since then. And it looks like it actually has changed. So now it's no longer the case. Interesting.
Well, I guess let's pull up the Aave one and see if the overall tokens supplied to Aave have decreased for TUSD.
Yeah.
So just to beat around the bush a bit less here, there was a well, yeah, I guess we can just say Justin Sun, or an alleged Justin Sun wallet, which had like 66% of the supply of TUSD in Aave.
Yeah. But you were saying you saw a spike in utilization, right?
There's a couple things. Yeah, I mean, we can see a spike of utilization for YFI, for example, I think, when Big Data Protocol launched. And then I think the second thing we check here is if TUSD has less liquidity than it did a while back.
Yeah. Let's see. Where's YFI? Here. Whoa. Yeah. Yeah, it went from like 5, almost 0 utilization, jumped straight up to 71% utilization. So that means what percentage of the supply that's in Aave has been actually borrowed by someone. And you see both in V1, went to 88% in V1. And the reason is very simple, right? If you have tons of funds locked up in Aave, you can just borrow Wi-Fi, and then you dump that into Big Data Protocol. You pay a pretty hefty rate on the interest to Aave, but the yields you're getting from Big Data Protocol are so much higher. So it effectively works as like a carry trade, right?
Yeah, I would say the other way of thinking of that is, or like if you're thinking of like a concrete example of how you could execute a strategy here, if you are sitting on stable coins and you're looking for maximizing your yield on your stable coins, you could, for example, deposit 100 or whatever, like a large amount of your stable coins into Aave, withdraw YFI, and then deposit YFI in a Yearn vault, which I think had like 250% at a certain point. So even if you're paying a significant amount on the loan, like call it 50% or 100% on your YFI loan, you're still making like 200% on your stable coins.
Yeah,
which is pretty solid.
There's one major caveat and a risk, right? And that risk is liquidation. So if the price of Wi-Fi or whatever token you're borrowing basically moons, and your deposits or your collateral is USD pegged, you could get liquidated. So that's something you just have to be careful with, and that's, I think, one reason why assets like YFI typically are not very heavily borrowed. They're typically used as collateral because the assumption is that as collateral, the value will stay higher. That's just something you have to be very, very careful with so you don't get liquidated.
Yeah. DA in the chat asks, how is the smart money tag applied? Not relevant to what we're looking at right now, but it was a question from earlier.
So what makes an address a smart money wallet? Or
yeah.
So it's a combination of things. Some of it is secret sauce, but the general concept is addresses that have made good investment decisions in the past. And so it could be because they've made a lot of money providing liquidity. They were early farmers and made a lot of money farming certain assets. They've made trades where they've basically multiplied their money, relatively quickly. And so there's all these different things. And in some cases also known funds that have a good track record. So Alameda, Three Arrows Capital, Paradigm, Polychain, A16Z, right? These types of funds that I think most people would agree should qualify as smart money also will get tagged up with these labels.
At the very bottom of the page, we list out kind of the breakdown of smart money wallets.
Yeah.
In the smart money. I have a question for you though. There's two numbers down there. There's the 1600 figure on the left, and then there's the 3000 one or something like that in the pie chart. I'm just going off memory here.
Which pie chart?
Yeah, 1600.
This one.
Label yeah, and then what's the 2921?
I actually have no idea.
Okay, I've wondered that one for a little while now.
Yeah,
I think we got to double check on that.
That's curious. I think we would have to check that. It could be actually. Actually, I think what it could be is simply. Let me just look. It could simply be that one address can have multiple labels. And so this is actually quantifying, which is not very useful, but it's quantifying the number of labels. So it's useful to look at these top ones because it gives you an idea of like what percentage of these labels are like Smart LP, what percentage is Flash Boy, Fund, Whale, etc. But the total number is just the total number of labels. And if like some addresses could have multiple labels, they could be both a fund and a Smart LP, for example. And so that would be my guess. Would have to look at the actual query implementation, but I'm pretty sure that's the explanation.
In the chat, we have a question. Is Metamask Swapper the lowest ranking wallet label?
Yeah, it's a funny question. No, it just literally means someone who's made a swapper via Metamask. And it's actually a lot of people who've done that.
Maybe you can talk briefly about how the kind of naming function works. So if someone has 4 or 5 different labels, how we pick which label to show.
Yeah, so the general rule is we pick the most informative label. So we have an algorithm that runs and tries to infer which of these labels is the most informative. And so one way to think about that, of course, is that more rare labels will be more informative. So if you have a name, that's typically more rare than if you have a category, like medium dex trader or Smart LP. So that's typically what decides the name. And so yeah, these are names, right, that you can see here, but they actually have several different labels.
The OG Nansen users will remember that we used to have those like the combination of all the labels in one line. So you would have like medium dex trader, YFI farmer, Metamask swapper, and you'd have like a combination, a borderline unreadable
which is
combination
terrible
of labels.
It was really bad. It was terrible. By the way, Justin Sun here is now Smart Money. And so I got some questions about that in Discord. And the funny thing is, we haven't, decided that Justin Sun is Smart Money. His own wallet performance has decided that he is Smart Money. So this is purely based on him being a quote-unquote smart liquidity provider. That's how he ended up as Smart Money, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Although he's got multiple wallets tagged as him, right? Justin Sun is
That's true.
An entity label.
That's true. Yeah.
All right, I think we've got two other pretty solid questions here, or kind of feature requests, and I think they're quite good here. So one of them is, in the future, could the smart alert event types include any arbitrary smart contract function?
That's cool.
And the user could specify them.
Yeah. The answer is yes, they could, and we will.
There you go, G. Yeah, that's the name of the person in the chat. The second question here, is it possible to remove specific addresses from Smart Money in Smart Alerts in order to reduce the number of alerts?
You can use the sub-segment filter. I think
in the Smart Alerts.
Oh, sorry, my bad. So
I think we've got anti tokens, but I don't know if we've got anti addresses.
Yeah, no, we don't have that at the moment. It's an interesting idea though. Like ignore addresses or anti addresses or something. Yeah, I like it. Can you note it down and we can give that feedback back to the product team?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
I did note it. All right. Any other questions in the chat? Feel free to, if anyone's in the chat. Okay, Oz asks, do we have any thoughts on the Reef Alameda beef this week?
I don't.
Yeah, well, let's refrain from commenting. I would say, like, it sounded like a miscommunication on all sides.
Yeah. I don't think any of us have enough information to know what actually took place to comment on it.
Yeah, sorry, Oz. We're gonna avoid stepping on that turd. All right. Well, I think that's a
nice
good place
nice
to wrap
try
it
though.
up. Yeah, stir the pot. Let's wrap it up there. Thank you guys all for watching. We really appreciate you guys joining, and hopefully we were able to provide some value here for you. If you have any questions throughout the week, feel free to ping us on Discord or on Twitter. We're pretty active over there. Alex is in a hot race with the Nansen account to maintain supremacy in the follower account. What are you at now? 17K?
I think 15, close to 16K, yeah.
Oh, only?
Only.
Disappointing.
What about you? You have some Twitter goals yourself, right? You should all follow Twitter. Your Twitter account. What is it? DC Armitage?
Yeah, thank you. Give me a nice chill here.
I'm sure you all follow him already, right?
Yeah, I've got 2K now. A measly 2K.
Oh wow,
but, it's all right. Actually, good. I think my goal is 1,500 this quarter.
Oh, nice, cool.
On my OKRs.
So you're getting that bonus. That's good.
Yeah, there you go. Alex told me if I get to 10K, I'll get a huge bonus.
Yeah.
Help me out, you guys. All right. Thank you guys all for joining, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.
All right.